I'm Bridget Flannery, VP of New Business. Today we will hear from Jessica Karakoff, VP of Underwriting, Ed Stark, VP of Case Design, Julie Melendez, an Underwriting Associate, and Aaron Bowden, Case Manager. We will walk you through some of the different accelerated underwriting programs currently available. We will touch on admin, underwriting, and product conversion options, as well as other noteworthy information. You will also be able to find a quick snapshot of each program available under quick links on our website. First, let's go over the guidelines for e-apps and accelerated underwriting. AgencyONE already requires e-app submissions for all cases with an annual target premium of $2,500 or less. We no longer accept paper applications on these cases. In addition, as of May 1st, qualifying cases with annual target premiums of $1,000 or less will need to be submitted through carriers offering accelerated underwriting programs. Some of the benefits of using e-apps and accelerated underwriting, they eliminate NIGO, meaning not in good order applications. There is quicker setup times at the carrier level and at AgencyONE because less time is needed to scrub paperwork. They avoid back and forth with AgencyONE and clients retrieving missing answers and forms. And they reduce the need for amendments during policy delivery. They also offer the option of lapse-free underwriting for qualifying cases using accelerated underwriting. And they reduce overall cycle time and increase placement ratios, allowing you to concentrate on bigger cases. And before we get started with our first carrier, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to go through some of the underwriting items.
Hello, everyone. The purpose of today's discussion is to outline the labs-free underwriting programs in the market. We're well aware that many of your clients may not meet the criteria. There are several carriers that offer drop ticket application options to expedite your cases regardless of the agent face amount. So we'll also touch on those. So the programs we're going to be talking about today have many similarities that I'm going to start with. Most of these carriers publish their qualifying criteria so you can pre-screen your clients. We're going to be displaying those during our presentation. All carriers have an electronic application, and most have a telephone interview to complete the Part 2. Those that do not require a phone interview have very lengthy electronic applications. So it's important that you prepare your clients to have their doctor information, medication information, health history, addresses, phone numbers, etc., prior to the telephone interview. They should allot between 30 and 45 minutes. All carriers run a prescription database check. They run driving records and the MIB. All carriers, with the exception of one, will allow clients to apply for their labs-free program if examined in the last 12 months for a carrier other than their own. The one exception is Principal. Principal will not allow you to enter their accelerated underwriting program if a client has been examined for anyone, life or DI, in the last 12 months. If the client does not qualify, AgencyONE will be notified and the case will transition into a traditional underwriting process. So what are some common causes for clients that get removed from these programs? Well, first, they're not properly pre-screened. It's really important that you look at the checklist, go over them with your clients, and make sure they at least hit that initial criteria. Another reason people get removed is non-disclosure, and this can be of medical history, meaning they didn't disclose medications that ultimately showed up on the prescription check, and then that raises questions, so the underwriter then has to go after additional information, therefore removing it from the automated program. Driving infractions, not disclosing that, or having multiple moving violations, DUIs in the last 5 years, those type of things will make your clients ineligible. Another note, if clients are treated for high blood pressure or high cholesterol, they should know what their most recent readings were. The telephone interviewer is going to ask, and if they don't know it, carriers will have concern that the clients aren't being properly followed, and that can often require an APS or some other item and remove them from the accelerated process. So throughout the presentation, we will point out underwriting niches specific to each carrier.
So let's get started with our first carrier, American General. Their program is a low-band underwriting. They use their select-a-term product. American General has a quick ticket, which is very basic information in order to get the process started. They are one of the carriers that does not require an e-signature up front. You must pick standard non-tobacco or standard tobacco, nothing better, to allow access to the program via IGO. And the interview is completed by a vendor, AgencyONE. A couple of noteworthy items. It's limited to $99,999 as far as face amount. There is a tobacco class available. The licensing and contracting should be validated prior to initiation of the case. And total in force with American General cannot exceed $3 million.
So from an underwriting standpoint, this is one of those carriers that if your client's taking blood pressure or cholesterol medication, they really do need to know those readings prior to the phone interview. Apart from that, this one follows the typical format of the e-app, the phone interview, and all of the background checks.
And then as far as conversions, this product, since it is below 100,000, there's only one IUL that's available for the first 8 years. That's pretty one of their common ones. After the 8-year period, they only have a conversion IUL as an option right now.
Next, we're going to cover American National. Their program is Underwriting Express. They use the signature term product and currently on IGO, but soon to be available through the ANICO website only. American National has a traditional long e-app. An e-signature is required, and the interview is completed by a vendor, AgencyONE, at the discretion of the underwriter. A couple of noteworthy items. It does go up to age 65, but you are limited to $250,000 of face. And they do offer substandard rate classes, including tobacco class. Real quick, they do have a pre-qualification in order to move forward with the e-application. It's pretty basic and nothing super important here, but just be aware of it. And when you do get to the requirements screen, you need to make sure that all answers are no.
Okay, so this is for your smaller substandard cases. American National will order APSs, they might get questionnaires, they might do everything except order an exam in order to get you an offer. And the reason is they'll offer up to Table 6 on term products and up to Table 12 on permanent products. So the timeline could be a little bit longer for this, but it's a good option if you have a client that's applying for a smaller face amount who's not interested in going through the insurance exam.
And then when it comes to conversion products on this, they have 3 types. They have an IUL, a whole life, and a GUL. The most competitive product that they offer right now is that GUL product.
The next carrier we're going to cover is John Hancock. They have the Smart Protect term with Vitality. They do have a traditional long e-app, and an e-signature is required. A couple of noteworthy items. It does go up to $1 million. Tobacco class is available. They do require an illustration prior to issue. They are the only carrier that does not currently ask for a telephone interview, and there is no temporary insurance agreement available.
So this is the, Vitality is the program where Hancock will issue a Fitbit. Clients can download the app, and as long as they're partaking in regular exercise, there's health classes they can take, getting regular checkups, they can accrue points. Points can relate to different levels, gold, platinum, and that can reduce the cost of their premiums. They also offer some gift cards and different kinds of incentives to keep their clients active and healthy. That's the reason for the illustration needing to be signed ahead of time. As Bridget said, there's no telephone interview, so that e-app's going to be a little bit more lengthy. And one thing you want to let your clients know is that doctor information will be requested because John Hancock orders an APS after issue. And if your clients have made any material misrepresentations, policies can be rescinded.
And then this product's a little interesting. So one, it's not available in the state of New York. Two, it's a great product because it can get you lower premiums. They can be a little more competitive, but what it doesn't offer is a conversion option. So if you need something that you want to have a conversion option down the road, then you might want to look somewhere else. But if you're looking for what's the lowest cost right now, this is a pretty decent product.
Next, we have Lincoln Financial. They're one of our top choices for the accelerated underwriting. They have Link Express, and they use their Life Elements term product. They do have a drop ticket, which again is very basic information in order to get the case started. They do require an e-signature. The interview is completed by a Lincoln Financial rep, and they do have a pre-interview worksheet available that we can certainly send to you. A couple of noteworthy items. It does go up to $1 million. It offers preferred plus and preferred non-tobacco only. The licensing and contracting should be validated prior to initiation of the quick ticket, and no prior submissions, including trial or formal, to Lincoln Financial within the past 12 months. And just as you get started on the Link Express case, the first thing that you're going to come across is a license and appointment check. We need to make sure that this is all taken care of in order to proceed. Assuming it is, you'll get an agent validation successful response.
Like Bridget said, they do offer a pre-interview worksheet. I would encourage you to have your clients fill that out ahead of time so that the telephone interview goes smoothly. If the client does qualify, policies are sent to AgencyONE. If not, the paramed service will contact your clients to order any additional requirements. Just a side note, we thought this was a very seamless process that moved pretty smoothly, very intuitive program.
Okay. And then for conversion products, they offer conversion to any product for the first 7 years, and then after they have one specific conversion product available.
Next, we're going to cover Minnesota Life. They offer the Right Fit program. They use their Advantage Elite Select term, and they do have a traditional long e-application. They also require an e-signature, and the interview is completed by a Minnesota Life rep. No vendors involved here. Several noteworthy items. The product does go up to $1 million, limited to age 54. They have a chronic illness conversion agreement option. Tobacco classes available, including preferred tobacco. The exam will be scheduled at the end of the phone interview, so your client needs to know that they should schedule the exam 10 days to 2 weeks out to allow time for the lab-free consideration. There is a potential reroute to traditional underwriting for audit purposes. And one thing that we've recently learned is that there is a Right Fit Express, which is different than the regular Right Fit. Right Fit Express is available from $50,000 to $250,000. And if declined, a 90-day waiting period will be enforced before a new application can be submitted. And that's going through traditional underwriting at that point. And the chronic illness conversion agreement is not available for the Express program either. And before we get started with the underwriting, Erin is going to walk us through an example of a case.
So let's do a quick walkthrough on what it would be like to go through a Minnesota Life e-app on our website as if you were taking an app with your client. So from the AgencyONE homepage, you'll click on the quick links and IGO. And then you'll launch IGO, start new case. And so there the important information is the client's date of birth and gender, and then you'll go down to the state and product type. So for our example, we did Maryland, and the product is term. Find available products, and that will generate the complete list of all the carriers and products that they have. So for this example, we'll be looking for Minnesota Life Advantage Elite Select Term. So we will select that. And Bridget did mention that this is a traditional e-app, which is why on the left side you can see that there are quite a few boxes that need to be checked in order for the application to be complete. But the priority screen that we will be looking at is the Right Fit Underwriting Pre-Qualification screen, which is what you see now. The client will need to answer 6 questions. For the sake of this example, we'll say no. And then also their current build. And you'll hit next. And there you can see the client has gotten a green check mark indicating that they are okay to participate in Right Fit underwriting. Would you like to continue with Right Fit? At that point, you would say yes and select next. And moving forward, the client would be moving forward with the Right Fit program. So now let's adjust the build. Let's say, for instance, you had a client that would weighed a little bit more than our first example. And you'll hit next. And then you can see there. So based on the information provided, the client will continue through traditional underwriting. So because of their build, they are not eligible. So yeah, let's adjust the weight back to the first example. And let's go up to one of the first 6 questions and answer yes. And you can see by answering yes to one of those questions, you do get that same error message. So in order for the client to be eligible for Minnesota's Right Fit underwriting program, all 6 questions must be answered no, and they must have an appropriate build.
Okay, so just to draw your attention back to this program does offer tobacco, and it's one of the few that offers preferred tobacco. It's only up to age 54, but it is up to $1 million. I want to restate that the telephone interviewer will schedule the exam with your clients. It's important they remember to schedule that 10 days to 2 weeks out to allow time for the approval process to go through. If the exam is not needed, Minnesota Life will cancel it, issue the policy, and send it to AgencyONE. If the client has to go through traditional underwriting, the exam will take place as scheduled. One additional check that Minnesota Life does is a risk assessment score. This is in addition to the MIB, the MVR, and the prescription database verification. And what this is, they assign a score to each of these background type internet checks. And I'm telling you this because these scores have once in a while kept people out of, like, let's say, preferred select. Maybe they're preferred because the risk assessment score was 9, not 10. It's one thing that's going to be a little bit difficult to explain to your clients, and this can be based on how much real estate they have. It's basically what I call voodoo underwriting, where they're trying to kind of score all of this different big data that's out there on the clients. And as Bridget said, there is a potential to reroute into traditional underwriting for audit purposes.
And then with this carrier, all permanent products are available for conversion. They have very competitive IULs, a couple ULs, and a whole life product, but the main products that they're working with right now are IUL.
So next we're going to move on to Principles Accelerated Underwriting. And this particular program we've had a lot of success with. They do use the regular term. They have a drop ticket, which again is very basic information. They are one of 2 carriers that does not require an e-signature up front. So this is very helpful to get the case started. And their interview is completed by a principal rep, and the client can call prior to the app even being submitted, which a lot of our agents have been directing their clients to do. A couple of noteworthy items. They offer super preferred and preferred non-tobacco only, up to $1 million of face, no labs ordered or completed within the last 12 months for life or DI, any carriers. And they, again, also have a potential reroute to traditional underwriting for audit purposes. One thing we want to point out real quick is that when you're doing the drop ticket, they have a question that says, are you requesting accelerated underwriting, which you will obviously want to answer yes. There's a really important question, would you like principal to order the paramed requirements for you? And the answer should be no. And that also goes for the tele-app interview. The answer should always be no. Real quick, we're going to touch on a real case example. Julie's going to run through it as she just applied through the accelerated program recently.
I personally went through Principal's accelerated underwriting process recently, and to start, I submitted the drop ticket that Bridget mentioned. This is through the IGO platform on the AgencyONE website. That very same day, I actually received a call directly from a Principal representative to complete the tele-app. I would say in total, the tele-app process took about 30 minutes to complete. I would want to note, though, that it's important to be prepared ahead of time. The more prepared you are, the quicker the phone call is going to be. So I was prepared with a list of all my physicians, medications, etc. My case was then underwritten and an approval was presented to me in just a few short days. I received my policy and completed very minimal delivery requirements to place my coverage in force. Overall, the process was very seamless from start to finish. I remained informed of the progress of each step along the entire way. And in my opinion, it's a great option for those who could very well qualify for this program.
Yeah, Principal's been around the longest of all these guys, so they really do have this process fine-tuned. The only real pain point is they do have the random holdouts. Well, they'll randomly take a case, whether it qualifies or not, just to test their algorithms, quality control. We love that this is handled inside Principal. The last 3 programs we discussed are handled inside the carrier. That is an ideal scenario. So one other little note. Traditional underwriting at Principal from go to woe takes about 29 days. If your clients are even close to qualifying for accelerated underwriting, try. Because even if they're kicked out for one reason or another, the average turnaround time from application to issue is 14 days. So something to remember.
And Principal has actually permanent products you can convert to all products that are available. They do have a conversion window that kind of varies based on the term duration. So for example, a 10-year term is only convertible for 7 years, 15-year term is only convertible for 12, 20-year term is convertible for 15 years, and the 30-year term is only convertible up to 20. You can purchase for an additional charge an extended conversion rider. I haven't really seen the pricing on that, but that would make the price a little bit higher of the term. And they do have a really unique benefit where 2 term policies can convert to a survivorship. So that's an option that may be something you're looking for.
And now we're going to cover United of Omaha. They have Express Underwriting. They have the Term Life Express product. They use a traditional long e-app, and an e-signature is required. Their interview is completed by a United of Omaha rep, not a vendor, but is random or required depending on age. A couple of noteworthy items: it does go up to age 65 and tobacco glass is available. And they do have a child whole life option available in case that's something that you're interested in. Just real quickly, I want to touch on the e-app. It does have a pretty extensive medical section, and so just want you to be aware that if you answer or your client answers something that's not to their liking, there will be a notice that is generated that pops up, and it will say that the person may not be eligible for coverage under this application. If you would like to continue with this app, please do so. We suggest that you do not, and you actually back out and at that point move forward with another option.
All right, and this Express product is really only convertible to the Express UL, the GUL Express they call it, and they have a living promise whole life.
We do want to touch on the state of New York because we do have a lot of agents that write New York business. You will note that New York is pretty quirky as far as what they do or do not accept or what's available at this time. Our suggestion would be Minnesota Life. They offer the accelerated underwriting and the e-app, so they are our top choice as far as state of New York. Just real quickly, Minnesota Life, you do have to complete the application on their website. It is not currently available through IGO. And to start the process is just to go through the New York Reg 60 questions that are outlined. And then assuming that all goes well, it'll run you through the right fit qualifications page, which Aaron touched on previously. We do have some new or revised accelerated underwriting programs that are getting ready to be rolled out. We have American General, John Hancock, Protective, and Pru for later this year, and Nationwide is working on one for 2018. Even if your client isn't eligible for an accelerated underwriting program, you can take advantage of drop ticket submissions. Some of the pros, again, it's a very simplified form asking basic information, the convenience that's involved. It has an expedited process, and it's a hands-off approach. Some agents do not necessarily want to get involved in a client's medical history, asking medical questions. They might not feel comfortable doing that. So this allows agents to hand off the case to a carrier rep or vendor, and they can then at that point ask some of the medical questions. Our recommended carriers for drop tickets, Principal, Protective, and Banner, although there are other carriers that are available. So with that, thank you for listening. If you have a case that you're looking to submit in the near future, we ask that you reach out to your case manager. They're very well versed in all of these programs and the EAP process, and we thank you for joining us.